it up.
All righty.
I'm able to unload, John.
Welcome for everyone that's here today to the December 18th, 2017 meeting of the Limestone County Commission. Are we good, Chair? Great. All righty. Pamela, do we have any public comment?
No, sir.
Could you call roll, please, ma'am?
Commissioner Hill.
Here.
Commissioner Turner.
Here.
Commissioner Black.
Here.
Commissioner Harrison.
Here.
All present, county. Commissioner Black, would you lead us in our pledge?
I will. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You about knocked me off.
I gotta have some room here.
Yeah, you about knocked me out the door. All righty. First item, I'll ask for a motion to approve minutes from December 4th and 13th of 2017. Do I hear such motion?
I'll make the motion.
I have a motion by Mr. Black. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Turner. Any discussion? There's no discussion. I'll call for the vote.
Commissioner Black.
Aye.
Commissioner Turner.
Aye.
Commissioner Hill.
Aye.
Commissioner Harrison.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Our next item, I'll ask for a motion to approve claims in the amount of $335,605.43. Do I hear such motion?
So moved.
A motion by Mr. Hill. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Harrison. Any discussion? There's no discussion. I'll call for the vote.
Commissioner Hill.
Aye.
Commissioner Harrison.
Aye.
Commissioner Turner.
Aye.
Commissioner Black.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Next item, resolutions and orders. I'll ask for a motion approving a resolution authorizing, approving, directing the employment of certain law firms to represent the county in potential litigation against contributors of opioid addiction crisis. Do I hear such motion?
I'll make the motion.
I have a motion by Mr. Black. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Harrison. Any discussion? There's no discussion. I'll call for the vote.
Commissioner Black.
Aye.
Commissioner Harrison.
Aye.
Commissioner Hill.
Aye.
Commissioner Turner.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Our next item under contracts, agreements, and grants, I'll ask for a motion to approve Schindler maintenance agreement for the elevator at the courthouse in an amount of $2,220 to be paid on an annual basis. Do I hear such a motion?
So moved.
A motion by Mr. Turner. Do I hear a second?
Second.
A second by Mr. Black. Any discussion? There's no discussion. I'll call for the vote.
Commissioner Turner.
Aye.
Commissioner Black.
Aye.
Commissioner Hill.
Aye.
Commissioner Harrison.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. I'm removing items 2 and 3. This is the basically what we had, a letter from AlDOT approved by the governor that said that they would pay 100% of the Highway 20 bridge replacement. Due to the design of that bridge, they've raised it 7 foot, and by raising 7 foot, then the slopes you spread out wider, so they got to have additional right-of-way, and then apparently we have one letter saying they're paying 100%, and then I've got a gentleman in Tuscumbia that's saying, well, yeah, but you need to pay the right-of-way, which is about, what, 75, 80 grand. So Speaker of the House, Matt McCutcheon, who had secured the first funding, has got all the information, therefore, and he's meeting with the governor, and he feels confident he'll take care of this for us. So that's where we are. So until been advised by Mr. Cole and Matt McCutcheon to remove this until he can get it.
But they're not arguing about the 20% match, right?
No, sir. Well, they want us to do the 20% match on the right-of-way and something. It's about whatever the $80,000 or $90,000 that I don't think Mr. Black has readily available. So we got a letter from him, email. Mark's got it, right? It basically says that we'll cover the 20% match of the total cost of the project. From Curtis
Benson,
who's
the region engineer.
right. And then a year later, they send an agreement over on, because it went from $900,000 to $1.7, $1.8 million, saying here's agreement for your 20% match on, because it's went over. And that's not what the original letter says. They pay 100% of everything. And the designs made it go over, but the state, AlDOT, designed the bridge. See where I'm going with this? They're the reason that it's come over. So anyway, under advisement of Mr. Mike Cole and Speaker of the House, we're going to set this aside and hopefully get it resolved this week. Moving on, item number 4. I'll ask for a motion to approve MOU with the Alabama Department of Conservation and Natural Resources, Wildlife, and Freshwater Fisheries Division for the county to provide certain periodic maintenance to access points, roads, right-of-ways, and other areas within the wildlife management area as may be requested by the division. Do I hear such motion?
I'll make the motion.
A motion by Mr. Black. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Harrison. Any discussion?
Just mainly for the media, what this is giving us the ability to go work on this area, and then they have operating costs assigned to whatever equipment and the manpower that we have. Y'all be able to get a copy of that showing what the actual exhibit is. For instance, if we're going to use a motor grader, it's $38.15 an hour plus the price of operator. So it's a good deal for them, and and it works out for us too. So thank you.
With no further discussion, I'll call for the vote.
Commissioner Black?
Aye.
Commissioner Harrison?
Aye.
Commissioner Hill?
Aye.
Commissioner Turner?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Our next item, I'll ask for a motion to approve Second Amendment to Carpenter Technology Project Agreement, extending final jobs target date from January 1, 2018 to January 1, 2019. Do I hear such motion?
I'll make the motion.
I have a motion by Mr. Black. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Turner. Any discussion?
Yeah, I'd like to talk about it a little bit before we vote. This agreement with Carpenter has been amended several times, and one of the times that I recall back in 2014 is where we delayed the in-service date a year, and then in 2016 we did the same thing that we're doing now. We extended that 18 months for the same. I think it was the same job level. And this, I think they lack about 30 jobs on their target, something like that.
Give or take. Don't they have 170 something, 77?
From what they report, 19, but they're at 181 now.
Okay.
189. Well, my point, and I voted for both of those extensions, both the delay of the in-service date, and I voted for the delay of the jobs target, and then, and I would say that we have kept up our side of the bargain on this agreement, the original agreement, and more than that, we've extended it, and then this will be the second on the jobs that we've extended it. And if we're going to do this, I mean, why don't we just either make the original agreement say we'll extend it indefinitely? And I asked the financial officer when I toured the project how they funded that big of a project. It's over $500 million project. And he said that they funded it with cash, stock offerings, and that's how they funded it. And that's how it should be funded. It should be funded by their resources, their stock offering. They've done very well. Their stock is up 25% just this year. They made last quarter they made $24 million. First quarter of 2018. Last year they cleared. Net income was $47 million according to their 10K. They're doing well. And this is $334,000 that I think we offered them $1 million in cash, and this is the third and final payment on the jobs target. And that amount would pay for about a third of an asphalt plant. And if we're ever to break the grip of the cartel on these prices, and if we're ever going to be able to use 100% virgin material and do our own formulation, then we need an asphalt plant. And that's a huge amount for us. It's not very much to the company. And like I say, we've kept our end of the bargain. And I still haven't received a suitable explanation of why the sales and use taxes on this project was 45% below estimate. And nobody seems to care. And that amount dwarfs this amount about many, many, many multiples. So if we're going to try to reduce our long-term cost on our roads, we need this kind of money, which is not a whole lot to the company, but it's substantial to us. You know, we could, and if y'all would consider my other proposal, we could have an asphalt plant in 2 years, and have it bought and paid for. I don't blame the company for asking for this, but I do blame us for the inability to say no. And like I say, we've extended, we've met our side of the bargain, and, you know, they don't, I mean, and I wouldn't add the jobs just to add the jobs to meet this. It's not economically, and they've looked at this, they made that value judgment, and they said, well, we're not going to add those jobs. I mean, this is not worth it to them. So I would encourage you to say no on this. I mean, there seems to be the guys that just can't say no to these things.
I don't think that's true. The way I look at it is you got a company that believed in Limestone County, and they came here and they invested $500 million. And then they turned around and continued to believe because they invested another 60, because they had $560 million. Now, along the way, they employed, I guess, 181 people. But at the same time, they're paying $1,025,000 a year taxes to our school system. Now, let that sink in for a minute. And then in 2023, they'll be paying like $1,360,000 to this commission, plus the $1,025,000 a year. And steel prices, as y'all know, we had that rush for a few years, and because China, they said, was buying up all the steel. I don't know if that's true or just something you read, but steel prices went down a little bit. So, I mean, do you turn around and say, hey, look, the economy did good. You're doing all this. You're doing that for our schools. You're doing this. You're fixing to be having, another $1.3 million. You're going to be paying $2.5 million a year into Limestone County. I don't think that saying, hey, look, we appreciate what you've done for us. We appreciate you a good community partner. $334,000 has been set aside for years, ever since I've been here. I didn't set it aside. So I don't see why in the world you would, bite the hand that's kind of feeding us. Now, they ain't feeding us yet, but they will be, but they're feeding 181 families. So, and that's just my thinking on it. I think if you got a good thing going, I don't know why you.
Well, we seem to be able to find money for these kind of projects, but we don't seem to be able to find money for our roads. What about all the others that didn't get the abatements, that are carrying their weight? Just because they're of a particular size and they employ 200 people or 181 or whatever it is. I mean,
Well, we just did one in your district, an abatement that employs very few people. So I don't think we've really differentiated. This commission had, and I can't speak for the state of Alabama, but I think this commission's been pro-business. But I think, it's no different than a 401k. I mean, I wasn't here to recruit carpenter, but the ones that did, the commission that's sitting here in 5 years really going to reap the benefits when you just, here's an extra $1,350,000, I don't think those commissioners, whether it's us or somebody else in 5 years of sitting here, they're going to be criticizing very much. And I don't think you send a message to a company that's invested that much money in your community that, hey, we got this money, we're going to go ahead and jerk this $344,000, because everybody goes through a little, not a downturn so much, but maybe a leveling. But I think that it's a quid pro quo. I think that investments we're making now, starting in 5 years, from 5 to 10 years, Ben, you'll have plenty of money to go on your roads and stuff, because you're going to have that much more money coming in.
But given the current commission says that we shouldn't take property taxes and put them to roads. And they can make an argument for that. But when you're not getting it for gas taxes, and you've got $1 billion worth of infrastructure, that's crumbling, you need to take action pretty quick. And I really don't think the company would fault us for doing this.
I think you're wrong.
Well, I mean,
and I'm just saying, I think
you're
wrong.
They understand. I've talked with financial officers, and he's with a different company, and when I tried to explain this, he says, you don't have to explain a word. I understand. He audited these type deals. So,
that's because it was a different company. If you talked to the guy that's on his company, you would have. I'm sure he'd have felt different.
This company's doing quite well.
Right.
And
we hope they continue.
And I bless them, but it should be used it should be by voluntary people that make voluntary investments, not people that are involuntary, like our taxpayers, they have no say in it. So that's my point, and I think that we could use this money very prudently.
But I think we could bite our nose off, spite our face, too. You never know. I mean, there can be certain things, say, well, wait a minute, if that's how they feel, maybe we shouldn't continue investing in Limestone County. I ain't saying it would, but I'm saying there's a potential there. But anyway,
Okay.
if there's, I have a motion second. If there's no further discussion, I'll call for the vote.
Commissioner Black?
Aye.
Commissioner Turner?
Aye.
Commissioner Hill? Commissioner Harrison?
Nay.
Motion carries 3-1. Next item, budget revisions. I'll ask for a motion to approve these budget revisions on solid waste pickup and mental health. The $40,000 is for y'all's vehicles. For the mental health is where we partnered with the city of Athens on this bridge over this little creek up here. We bought the materials. They provide all the labor to build it. So I have a motion to approve these budget revisions as presented to the commission.
I make a motion.
I have a motion by Mr. Turner. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Black. Any discussion?
Yeah, we're using our new vehicle for litter pickup today, so we're glad to have it.
Working good?
Well, I don't know, this afternoon, it was working good when he left.
I have a motion and a second. If there's no further discussion, I'll call for the vote.
Commissioner Turner?
Aye.
Commissioner Black?
Aye.
Commissioner Hill?
Aye.
Commissioner Harrison?
I did call, asked you kind of earlier, didn't I?
Yeah.
There's no emergency, a motion carried unanimously. There's no emergency purchase, no board appointments come before the commission. This time I'll ask for a motion to award bids for printing tag mail notices for the License Commission. Award to IMS Enterprises in the amount of $14,570. Do I hear such motion?
Make a motion.
A motion by Mr. Turner. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Hill. Any discussion? If there's no discussion, I'll call for the vote.
Commissioner Turner?
Aye.
Commissioner Hill?
Aye.
Commissioner Black?
Aye.
Commissioner Harrison?
Motion carries unanimously. Next item under personnel actions, I'll ask for a motion to approve family medical leave for Chris Shedd beginning December 22nd, 2017, and ending February 1, 2018. Do I hear such motion?
I make the motion.
I have a motion by Mr. Turner. Do I hear a second?
Second.
I have them in unison from Mr. Harrison and Mr. Black, so. Any discussion? If there's no discussion, I'll call for the vote.
Commissioner Turner?
Aye.
Commissioner Harrison?
Aye.
Commissioner Hill?
Aye.
Commissioner Black?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Our next item, I'll ask for a motion to promote Stephen Ferguson as extradition officer at the Sheriff's Department. Do I hear such motion?
I make the motion.
I have a motion by Mr. Black. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Turner. Any discussion? If there's no discussion, I'll call for the vote.
Commissioner Black?
Aye.
Commissioner Turner?
Aye.
Commissioner Hill?
Aye.
Commissioner Harrison?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Our next item, I'll ask for a motion to hire Jake Abernathy as a deputy pending drug screening. Do I hear such motion?
So moved.
I have a motion by Mr. Hill. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Turner. Any discussion? If there's no discussion, I'll call for the vote.
Commissioner Hill?
Aye.
Commissioner Turner?
Aye.
Commissioner Black?
Aye.
Commissioner Harrison?
Motion carries unanimously. Our next item, I'll ask for a motion to hire Casey Wood as superintendent of county buildings pending drug screening. Do I hear such motion?
Take the motion.
I have a motion by Mr. Harrison. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Black. Any discussion? If there's no discussion, I'll call for the vote.
Commissioner Harrison?
Aye.
Commissioner Black?
Aye.
Commissioner Hill?
Aye.
Commissioner Turner?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Our next item, I'll ask for a motion to transfer Mitzi Cooley to administrative tag clerk in the License Commissioner's office. Do I hear such motion?
I'll make the motion.
I have a motion by Mr. Black. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Harrison. Any discussion? If there's no discussion, I'll call for the vote.
Commissioner Black?
Aye.
Commissioner Harrison?
Aye.
Commissioner Hill?
Aye.
Commissioner Turner?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. At this time, we turn it over to our esteemed county engineer, Mr. Moss.
Mr. Chairman, I have two subdivisions for you guys this morning. You want to take them both together or separately?
Thank
I'd
you,
like to
sir.
take these together separately.
Yes, together is fine with me. They're,
The first one then, both these are in District 2. The first one is Arbor's Edition Number 7. It's a major subdivision. This will be preliminary approval today, consisting of 57 lots on the north side of Newby Road. The second one, also in District 2, as I said, the Breakers Townhomes, Phase 1. This is also major. This will be final approval on this one, consisting of 36 lots on the east side of Newby Road.
sounds good. Do I hear a motion to approve these preliminary and final subdivision as presented by our county engineer?
I make the motion.
I have a motion by Mr. Turner. Do I hear a second? Second. Second by Mr. Hill. Any discussion?
Yeah, do you or Mark have any, I mean, I guess we could go back and find it, but rough guess on how many new lots have been approved in District 2 in the last 16, 18 months?
No, sir, we would have.
400 plus?
Quite a few. Quite a few.
Yeah, it's, I just bring that up to solidify the fact that there is a lot of houses and homes being built and sold in Limestone County, and particularly in my district, and I'm guessing soon to be in District 3 for Commissioner Black, and I'm sure the others have some going too, but this is 93 just in this motion today. That's 93 new families, 93 new people using our roads, to touch on the fact what Commissioner Harris is talking about, the need for more road money. Well, we need it in District 2 also.
There's no more discussion. I'll call for the vote.
Commissioner Turner,
Aye.
Commissioner Hill, Commissioner Black, Commissioner Harrison.
Motion carries unanimously. Do you have anything further, Mr. Moss?
Shall I have, Mr. Chairman? Thank you.
Thank you, sir. In other business, I'll ask for a motion to approve to amend Limestone County Commission credit card usage policy to include renewing of the county's domain. Do I hear such motion?
I make the motion.
A motion by Mr. Black. Do I hear a second?
Aye.
Have a second.
Sorry. I was thinking about something else.
Second by Mr. Turner. Any discussion? There's no discussion. I'll call for the vote.
Commissioner Black,
Aye.
Commissioner Turner,
Aye.
Commissioner Hill, Commissioner Harrison.
Motion carries unanimously. Next item, I'll ask for a motion to remove the following vehicle from inventory. It's 2007 Dodge pickup from the Maintenance Department. Inventory number 5028. Do I hear such motion?
So moved.
A motion by Mr. Turner. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Black. Any discussion? There's no discussion. I'll call for the vote.
Commissioner Turner,
Aye.
Commissioner Black,
Aye.
Commissioner Hill, Commissioner Harrison.
Motion carries unanimously. Next item, I'll ask for a motion to sell the following vehicles on Gov Deals, all from District 2, 2001 Ford F-150, 2005 Dodge Ram, 2006 Ford Econoline. Do I hear such motion?
I make the motion.
I have a motion by Mr. Turner. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Black. Any discussion? If there's no discussion, I'll call for the vote.
Commissioner Turner,
Aye.
Commissioner Black,
Aye.
Commissioner Hill, Commissioner Harrison.
Motion carries unanimously. There are no scheduled public hearings to come before the commission. At this time, I'll entertain a motion to suspend the rules in order for the commission to consider granting January 2nd as a holiday or a day off, or however I need to word that. Do I hear a motion to suspend the rules?
I'll
A
second
motion
it.
by Mr. Hill, I have a second by Mr. Black. Any discussion? If there's no discussion, I'll call for the vote.
Commissioner Hill, Commissioner Black,
Aye.
Commissioner Turner,
Aye.
Commissioner Harrison.
Nay.
Motion passes 3-1. Do I hear a motion? Oh, I'm
Please.
sorry.
Motion to suspend the rules has to be unanimous. Am I correct in that?
I don't know.
Add to the agenda.
And
We have
then
to
you
look
have
at
to look
the
at the-
rules of procedure. We have that if it's adding to the agenda. So, copy. Under the
That's our approved.
I guess if it is, can we not just place it to be voted on December 27th at the work session?
The rules would have to be suspended on 27th.
It would have to be an affirmative vote for all members of the commission present.
Okay. So that's dead.
Scratch that.
Scratch that. All righty. Everybody's working January 2nd. This time we'll move report of officers. Commissioner Hill?
Yes, I've had phone calls about the cleanup on the mental health at Elm Street. That has been completed. I just want to thank everybody that's worked on that project and helped us do it. I'd like to make a comment about being at odds with other commissioners. I'm not at odds with other commissioners. I try to work with them. Some of them have good ideas that right now I don't want to go along with right now. Maybe later, but on a merry note, I want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Turner?
Yeah, I want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas. Probably gonna have a couple more items to put on Gov Deals here in a few weeks. Just trying to work it out with my foreman on what we do exactly need and what we don't exactly need. We're trying to cut as much stuff out of our district that we're not using regularly as we can. So I'll ask y'all for that at the time it comes necessary. But outside of that, Merry Christmas.
Sir, Commissioner Black?
Hey, Merry Christmas to everyone. Going back to the paper on Saturday where it was talking about being at odds, like Stanley, I don't feel like we're at odds. One of the statements was I'm the only working on proposals to provide more funds without a tax increase. Well, I too have been working on proposals. I just haven't presented anything yet. I've actually been talking to Emily Ezel about a few. I've been talking to the ACCA about a few. And I've talked to some other commissioners. Steve and I have discussed some of these, and Steve didn't like some of them, and some of them he did. I'm not sitting idly by, thinking that somebody's going to bring us a bag full of money. I also know that prioritizing things in the budget are important, but it just depends on who's doing the prioritizing. Roads are important, bridges are important, but there's a lot of other stuff that we do provide for our citizens that are important too. I just want to make sure when we do this, we don't do it in haste. We don't come up with it in a work session and then want to vote on it in 3 days at a meeting. I'm glad it was taken off the agenda because I thought it was inappropriate at the time to do it. So thank you very much. And we're just doing routine maintenance, patching roads. We're clipping a few shoulders where we had water standing over the weekend, so we're out doing that today. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Harrison?
We finished the Pope Road culvert replacement on Friday and opened it up, and it took us a couple of days longer than we intended originally, but we had some problems with scheduling crane, and we hit some utilities that we didn't anticipate, so that delayed it. But we got it open, and it looks good, and it'll settle over time, but we'll come out and smooth it up. Let me clarify why I did not vote to suspend the rules. this could have been done a long time ago, and I apologize to my fellow commissioners, because I did meant before now to put on that proposal to take Good Friday and make it a floating holiday. That way we'd have in essence, 2 personal days, and then they could take January the 2nd if they wanted to, if they work it out with their department manager. The reason I did this, and the reason I'm going to make the proposal in the next work session is, and I mentioned this a while back, is that it ups our cost for the sheriff's department especially. And when you declare holiday,
How does it up our cost at the sheriff's department?
well, he's got to pay holiday pay.
Is that correct, Pam? Does he have to pay holiday pay to all the employees?
That's what he told me.
Well, when you're closed, you only paid a set number of hours. If you work that day, you get paid your hours worked plus 8 hours for holiday for an 8-hour employee, 7.5 for other employees that work 7.5 hours. But when you close on a floating holiday, he's still got to fill that
gotta manage.
schedule somewhere because that office is not closed.
Yeah.
I mean, the schedule's still got to be filled.
So if we give it on January the 2nd or we give it as a floating, it's not any different?
No.
Whoa, wait a minute,
Well,
wait a minute.
it
whoa,
does
whoa,
the
yes,
cost
it does.
as far as having, if you have a floating holiday and more people were off, then you've got to fill that schedule. It comes more of a problem to fill the schedule when you're open and given holidays than it is if you closed, because you're just flat closed and you're just paid for that.
Okay.
And that's at the department manager's discretion. Okay, he doesn't have to give that.
Give what?
Yeah, a floating personal holiday. They have to schedule that in advance, get it okay.
Well,
with
if
the
you're
department.
giving it in the book, if you're giving it as an official holiday, those employees have got to have that holiday
But we're-
somewhere
but
throughout
we're
the
not.
year.
Right, but you're offset, you're taking Good Friday. You're keeping the total number of holidays the same.
I understand that. But
Okay.
on Good Friday, it is a total county holiday. The
Ma'am.
offices are closed. You're not having to worry with scheduling conflicts. Now, when you start giving rotating holidays or floating holidays, then you have got, for people like the sheriff's office that have to have schedules, they have got to figure that into their scheduling.
Right, right. But it does reduce his cost, overall cost. If you're taking a Good Friday, and making it a
How is
floating
it gonna
holiday
reduce
versus
the-
closing the courthouse or closing all offices, and he has to pay holiday pay for it forces him
Well,
to pay holiday.
they're still getting paid the same.
It's the same-
You
it's
still
the
gonna have to
same
give the
pay.
holiday
It's not.
pay no matter what.
No, it's not. Not if you take Good Friday and make it a floating.
Well, they're still gonna get paid for
See-
it that year, so it's still, I don't understand how it's saving any money. It's the
Saving
same
one day.
amount of holiday
Saving one day.
hours.
That's right.
It's saving one day.
Here we go. But we were going to gave December 26th, right? And we're going to give now, we're giving extra.
We're not
holiday-
giving January 2nd. You voted
Well,
against it.
you wanted to.
Oh, I did.
Yeah,
The 3 of us did.
yeah. Who put it on the agenda?
Stanley had asked me about it, and I did.
Yeah, I asked to put on the agenda, yeah.
We already get 4 more than the federal. We get 1 more than the state, and we still honor. If Kay Ivey gives the second, we'll honor that. But we're giving holidays willy-nilly, and that ups the sheriff's department costs. You can. Have you talked to the sheriff?
Yes.
Okay. What did he say?
He said it used to way back in the day, but it really doesn't change anything now.
Really?
That's exactly what he said.
Well,
He's changed from when I talked to him.
here's the thing about it.
Whatever.
Yeah.
If a floating holiday is a floating holiday, we don't make them use that floating holiday
Right.
on the 2nd. It's up to them whether they want to use it. So if we made it mandatory for them to take it, then yeah, that's right. It wouldn't be no savings. But if you're saving one day. I see what Ben's saying. You're saving one day by not making it the mandatory holiday. Your floaters to use whenever you want to. So the offices are not closed because it's a floating holiday.
But you're still paying that person on the day that he's off.
You are, but then you're not paying them for the
Good Friday.
mandatory, the 2nd. Like if we closed the office, that's
Well,
another day.
in the case of a deputy, even though somebody took that holiday on like a floating holiday, you still gonna have to have another deputy fill in that slot.
Yep.
So, I don't understand how you're saving any
Well,
money, because you
it
still
would
got
be
to
just
pay
like-
for that holiday.
It would be just like somebody taking annual leave. How do they take care of that?
They have to have somebody to fill in for them.
Exactly.
And it gives another day open for the people to
To me, it
do
looks
their
like it's all a
business.
wash.
It's not a wash.
Well,
but anyway,
regardless, it's not,
Yeah.
it's done
that's
deal.
done. But I
So
think I
let's-
needed to explain that to folks, and that's the reason why. And so, anyway,
You done?
that's it.
Thank y'all for coming. I do want you to know, Ben, that your economic development views are not confined to merely Limestone County and here, because they are used against us, no kidding. I've spent an inordinate amount of time on teleconference this weekend trying to explain your very position and where you would be, where you were at. But regardless, I just want you to know it's not falling on deaf ears. There's people all over the,
Well, that's intent, and people tell me, well, why, you're the only one, but
You're the only
unless
one.
we get this out and discuss it, it'll never be any hope for change in the future.
I would love, I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm an Alabama fan. I wish we could change the rules. I wish come Clemson and then the next game, only Alabama would get to play offense. The other team don't get to play offense. I know we'd win, unfortunately. I can't change the rules and, the economic development. But be that as it may, everybody have an absolute wonderful and Merry Christmas. And with that, we will recess until 10 a.m. on Wednesday, December 27th, 2017, at the Washington Street Courthouse Annex, 310 West Washington Street, Athens, Alabama. Thank you. Merry Christmas.
Mark?